Hello, my name's Jennifer Hancock, and these are some frequently asked questions about humanism. I've always thought that if you want to learn about humanism, the best place to do so is from a humanist. So here are some of the most common questions asked about humanism and their answers. Do you have to be an atheist to be a humanist? No, you do not. But you do need to be a secularist. That means that you need to be focused on the here and now. It's obviously easier to focus on secular as opposed to sacred matters if you're not very religious. As a result, most humanists are not very religious, and yes, that does include atheists. Just remember, humanism is a philosophy, not a sectarian alternative to religion. So it's not unusual for people of faith to approach their faith humanistically. And that's okay too. What makes a humanist is that our focus is primarily on humans. If you're concerned primarily with demons and demon fighting, then humanism is probably not the philosophy for you. Is there or isn't there a God? Believe it or not, the question of is there or isn't there a God is irrelevant to humanism. If there is no God, then our value system is derived as we humanists claim it is, from human need. If there is a God, and it values the same things we do, then humanism is the value system God wants humans to hold. So, again, we're good. Now for the controversial part. If God exists, but doesn't share our values, humanists are of the firm opinion that such a being would not be worthy of our worship. Because if it didn't want us to be happy and healthy and good, then what good is this God? For a humanist, evil, regardless of its source, needs to be resisted. For this reason, humanism is often described as a Promethean philosophy. We are fully willing to challenge the gods to alleviate human suffering if necessary. Fortunately, most suffering is caused by humans, so we aren't called on to mount expeditions to Olympus very often. Where does morality come from? This question comes in many forms, but is probably one of the most important questions we humans can ever ask. If the existence of God is irrelevant to discovering moral values, as humanists claim, then how can we best develop morality by ourselves? Where would the desire to sacrifice oneself come from? What is right and wrong has to come from somewhere. Well, the quick answer to that is we evolved to have morals. Humans have clearly evolved to care, feel compassion, and to work altruistically for the benefit of others. We've also evolved to lie, cheat, and steal. But what almost every thinking person who has ever lived has discovered is that a compassion-based morality, otherwise known as the Golden Rule, leads to a better, happier life for everyone. The reason to be good is because it benefits your life here and now. Being compassionate with the people you meet, even the jerks, makes you feel better about yourself, improves your status with your peers, and helps you to lead a happier, more productive life. You don't need a God to tell you that. You just need to think about it for yourself for a little bit to come to the same conclusion humans have been coming to since we became human. How do humanists feel about the Ten Commandments? They're fine. We don't particularly like the first 3 or 4, depending on which version you're using. But starting with the one about keeping the Sabbath, we actually like them. In fact, I don't think any humanist would disagree with them. Making sure you have time to relax is good for your mental health. Honoring your father and mother is also a good idea, unless they're jerks. Not coveting is a good idea because seriously, trying to keep up with the Jonesies will lead you to financial ruin. And pretty much everyone agrees that stealing, lying, cheating, and killing is bad. So, yeah, to recap, the first bit we don't like, but the rest of the commandments that are about more practical issues, we agree with them. Doesn't humanism just replace God with man? No. No. Look, I realize when God is central to your life that it's really hard to comprehend a philosophy where the existence of God is irrelevant, but humanism doesn't replace God with man. That would be asinine. Seriously. Humans just aren't all that wonderful, and we're all prone to making mistakes. And some of us are downright selfish. Why would anyone want to worship a creature like that? especially one without divine powers. Seriously, it would be stupid. When we call ourselves humanists, all we're saying is that we are primarily concerned with human welfare. It really is that simple. We have no other ulterior motives. We do not want to replace God with anything, let alone man. Got it? Good, because I hate that question. Stupid. What is humanism's stance on the supernatural? When we are asked this question, it is usually in response to something quite specific, such as, do we believe in ghosts, UFOs, psychic abilities, and so forth? The quick answer is no. It doesn't mean that there aren't ghosts, space aliens, psychic abilities, and so forth. It just means that there's no such thing as the supernatural. If things really exist, then they exist in the natural world. Now, just because we're skeptical of supernatural claims doesn't mean we aren't open-minded to the possibility that some of those claims are real. Here's the problem. If we can't study something because it's supernatural phenomenon, and for that reason is unobservable, then we become very, very, very skeptical. There is no need to resort to a paranormal explanation for something unless you're being lazy or duplicitous and are seeking to avoid scrutiny of your claims. Long story short, when it comes to some of the extraordinary claims being made about the supernatural, our answer is, show us the proof. Why do we need another ism? Aren't all isms divisive? Normally, yes, but in this case, no. Humanism isn't just another ism. This is the one ism that actually connects us to all the other humans on the planet. We know that we cannot transcend the strife between people until and unless we start identifying ourselves primarily as humans. So while most isms do label you restrictively, when you label yourself as a humanist, you are actually signaling to the world that when push comes to shove, you stand with your fellow humans and not just with a subset. So no, we don't need another ism. We just need the one, humanism. Is humanism speciesist? And what happens if we find intelligent life elsewhere in the universe? Will we change our name from humanism to sentientism? These are my all-time favorite questions. When someone asks these questions, it means they get it and are probably humanists. They just don't want to join something that views humans as superior to everything else, and rightly so. Rest assured, humanists don't view humans as the pinnacle of evolution. We are, after all, scientifically literate. We view ourselves as just another part of the natural world. And as part of the natural world, we know we are totally dependent on the quality of our environment for the quality of our lives. Consequently, humanists tend to be avowed environmentalists. We know our lives depend on it. As for our relationship with the rest of creation, all we are is an animal that has evolved to do some pretty nifty tricks, just like every other animal living on the planet. And that in itself is very, very cool and something worth celebrating. But what is really exciting is that one of the nifty tricks we evolved is self-reflection. And this self-reflecting ability seems to make us unique amongst our fellow animals. As far as we can tell anyway. While it is clear that not every human takes advantage of this unique ability, it is only through self-reflection that we are capable of developing a moral code and of being responsible for our actions in accordance with our moral code. So, while we recognize ourselves in our fellow creatures and feel responsible to them, we do not expect them to reciprocate our concerns. It is silly to think a hungry tiger will feel conflicted about eating a human in the same way that many humans feel guilty about eating a chicken. It just doesn't happen. Any animal that isn't capable of reflective thought isn't capable of moral behavior. Simply put, we expect more from ourselves than we do of our fellow creatures. Or to put it another way, humanists don't feel superior to other species, just morally obligated to them.